The government's pointing to some comments made by Bill Shorten when he was the Assistant Treasurer. This was back in 2011. I'll play the comments to you, endorsing the idea of corporate tax cuts.
Cutting the company income tax rate increases domestic productivity and domestic investment. More capital means higher productivity and economic growth and leads to more jobs and higher wages.
That was Bill Shorten this morning. Well, Labor says it's all about priorities, and right now, given the state of the budget, they can't afford to pursue that as a priority, despite that strong endorsement of Mr Shorten a few years ago. With me now, the Coalition campaign spokesman, Matthias Cormann. Penny Wong this morning has been asked about those comments. She says they've got other priorities right now, and given the state of the budget after the Coalition's handling of it the last few years, company tax cuts is not their number one priority.
Well, our priority is jobs and growth, given where the economy is at, given the challenges that we continue to face from global economic headwinds. We unashamedly are prioritising jobs and growth, and obviously, as Bill Shorten knows, a more competitive company tax rate does drive additional investment, does boost productivity, does generate more growth, create more jobs, and over time lead to increases in real wages. And over time, that obviously also helps with revenue for government. The truth is, Bill Shorten knows in his heart of heart what is the right thing to do here. He's just too weak to deliver it. I mean, he has had to shift to the left in order to... He's been captured by the left of the Labor Party, and instead of putting the national interest first, he's just putting his political self-interest first.
But he has said, and well, Penny Wong very clearly this morning in specific response to those comments, that this is about priorities, and that priorities in the short to medium term is on education and health.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, obviously a stronger economy, which helps generate more revenue for government, will obviously help us secure the funding required for health and education over the medium to long term. We are also increasing funding for health. We're also increasing funding for education. But the difference is that we are doing it in a way that is affordable, that is guaranteed within the budget, and that is sustainable within the economy. And if you want to spend more, you need to have stronger growth in order to be able to underpin that increased expenditure.
I want to ask you about some of the claims around this morning in relation to your government's superannuation changes. First of all, ASFA, the Association of Superannuation Organisations, has put out some numbers this morning saying it's going to impact 9% of superannuants. What do you say in response to that from the peak body in the industry?
Well, look, we stand by the numbers which are based on tax office data which have been reviewed by Treasury and which show that 96% of Australians with superannuation are either not affected or better off. Obviously, I mean, I've looked at the data from the superannuation industry peak body, and what they essentially have done is add, obviously the impact of individual measures on individual Australians with superannuation, but like some people are obviously impacted by more than one measure. And so there's a bit of double counting going on there. We stand by our numbers.
Of 4%. They're saying 9%. So you're suggesting there's more than, in some cases, more than double counting if people are affected by 2 or 3 measures?
Well, the Treasury has reviewed the tax office data in relation to people's circumstances when it comes to superannuation, and we stand by the numbers that we've put out.
It's interesting, though, because ASFA, when we spoke to them the morning after the budget, were quite positive about the changes. Now they're trying to have you...
No, I think ASFA continues to be quite positive, and I mean, they've obviously been asked for some information, and they've provided information out. They've provided information about the impact of individual measures, but we don't believe that they have properly reconciled, those people with superannuation that are impacted by more than one measure.
Now, last night on national television, the CPA said that 20 to 30% of the population would be impacted by the super changes. What do you say to that?
That's just ridiculous. I mean, I gather that's based on a survey of accountants who believe that 20 to 30% of their clients are going to be impacted by these changes, but obviously not every Australian with superannuation has got an accountant.
And a survey of 1,300 accountants is what it was based upon, but they're saying that half of them had that figure in terms of their client base.
Well, again, we don't think it's a credible figure at all. We stand by the numbers that we've put out there. They're based on tax office data as reviewed and verified by Treasury.
When you're trying to make the case in this election campaign and you've got various numbers flying around, how difficult is it for you to maintain the accuracy of this debate, in your view, when it comes to the ATO analysis of the numbers?
Well, it's always important to remind ourselves of the fundamentals, and the fundamental here is that we are working to make our superannuation system fairer and more sustainable, and to ensure that the tax concessions are better targeted, to ensure that we fulfil the actual purpose of superannuation, which is to help people save in order to achieve an income in retirement that replaces or supplements the age pension. The purpose of superannuation tax concessions never has been and never should be to facilitate tax-effective wealth accumulation or intergenerational wealth transfer.
And well, finally, you haven't convinced everyone in your own party about the merits of this. How widespread do you think that concern is?
Our policy is very clear. It is a policy that is designed to make superannuation fairer and more sustainable, and it's a policy that we would be implementing if we are re-elected on the 2nd of July.
Minister, appreciate your time.
It was good to talk to you.